Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Interviews. Today's a fun one, mainly because the interviewee, as you can see, we have Thomas Fears, who we have talked about on the channel multiple times, mainly because we've talked about the final trial of Billy the Kid. It was really good, and we really liked his performance, and he has agreed to come on and talk with us, and he's also done Ghostbusters, Meow Wolf, and some other projects. So, Thomas, before I take over the show, do you want to just introduce yourself for any viewers and listeners that have not yet seen your work?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Keegan and Sam. My name is Thomas Fears. I'm an actor, and as Keegan mentioned, I've been in a few things in Colorado. Meow Wolf and a fan film of Ghostbusters, final trial of Billy the Kid, and a couple of television commercials and other locally produced film projects in Colorado. And so it's my pleasure to be here and chat with you about the final trial of Billy the Kid and anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, that was actually one of Sam's favorite. We did a whole Billy the Kid bracket with, we actually did with Michael Anthony Giudice, who did the film. And then we had John LeMay. And that was one of Sam's favorite that we covered on that bracket. But how did you get into the Billy the Kid film, the final trial of Billy the Kid? Like, how did that come onto your radar?
Let's see. Well, when you're an actor, you're always mooching around looking for work. And there are websites that aggregate casting calls from either casting directors or producers or independent film production organizations. And I think it was on Actors Access, which is one of these portals widely used, that I tripped over a casting call that was posted by Michael Giudice. And so it included the script. I memorized the lines and then laid down an audition for it with the help of a neighbor filming me, and I uploaded it, and off it went. And all of a sudden, got a call. It was I'd been selected for the role.
Oh, awesome. Well, how did you prep for the role? Like, did you read anything or watch anything on Brushy Bill? Like, how did you get into character for that one?
Yeah, that was a real interesting thing to delve into because I really hadn't been much of a Billy the Kid aficionado, and I knew of Billy the Kid, but that's probably what at the level everybody else might know about him. Oh yeah, he was some kind of bandit from the Old West. So started with looking into Billy the Kid information on the internet, looked into Wikipedia articles, and of course I had the script, and it was, so I looked into seeing just what Billy the Kid was about. And then I started looking into what Brushy Bill Roberts' claims were and was able to find some other things about him. And of course, the script was pretty informative because it explores a lot of the bases that Brushy Bill brought to the table in his claim. And that informed me. I also looked into Michael's body of work, and he's done a lot of video and written and bloggy productions out there. And so I looked into all that just to also get a feel for Michael and how he might direct the project and otherwise frame it all up and get it into production. And if I recall, that's pretty much it. I might have watched a couple of Billy the Kid movies, but then again, that's mass media stuff, which probably isn't going to be very informative as to the facts, which is what I really was more interested in. And then I just kind of threw myself into Brushy's position, and what would a 91-year-old who believed in his claims, what would he think, and how would that inform his behaviors and manners, and how much he had invested emotionally into this, into going in front of Governor Bill Richardson and putting forth his claim for the pardon as well as just trying to prove his identity.
Yeah, no, Brushy, even if he wasn't Billy the Kid, was quite a colorful character. I've been down to Heiko, where a lot of the story happened in Heiko and Hamilton, and all the stories you hear from the locals are just, it's fascinating. And I really do think you captured the aura of Brushy Bill that we've been able to read and learn about very, very well. Like you both played like that believable, like he really believed he was Billy the Kid, but also like scared that someone was going to catch on that he wasn't. And so you caught both sides, and I thought that's what was really good. Sam, did you have anything about the performance?
I mean, I definitely felt like you kind of captured like what it would have been like if he like was put up on that stand. Like I thought you did a really good job on that.
Thank you. You know, part of my tortured career history, I'm currently in recovery from being an attorney. And so I've been in courtrooms prosecuting, and I've also been another version of my life. I was a hearing officer, and so I was in a judicial role. And I've seen how people get really stressed on a witness stand and how they can either maintain their composure or fight to keep their composure or lose their composure. And Michael wrote a good script that had some peaks and valleys and emotional surges in it that I felt really did inform the portrayal of Brushy Bill on the witness stand, being grilled and trying to get his case out there. So thank you for that. I think that it really means a lot to me to have that kind of feedback.
Yeah, no, we thought you did excellent. That was even when we were talking about just the review of it, because then we did the bracket and everything. I think we talked about your performance, the majority of it, because we were just like, that was so good. Brushy Bill's been done by a couple of people, including Emilio Estevez, but I think you hit him the best.
Oh.
Like you looked the most like him. You talked how I would imagine Brushy sounded. Like it was great. I thought you did excellent.
You know, when you mention about talking, I obviously don't have a Texas accent, much less a vintage Texas accent. And it was just unplanned by Michael, I'm sure, but it was just divine intervention that Ryan, who played Carvin Aldine, the attorney, the opposing attorney, in real life, he is a professional linguist and studies accents. And so I worked a little bit with him to refine what my take on a Southern accent would be. And including, we did researches into whether North Texans in the 1800s to the early 1900s would have dropped their R's. That was another aspect of preparing for that role. I worked with Ryan on a few Zoom calls, and then when we were on set, just to kind of refine and get that accent down. And I chose to drop the R's because he said that there were studies that showed that North Texans back in the 1880s into the early 1900s dropped their R's, but today they don't.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Texas itself is very different no matter where you go in because it's just so big, so vast.
Oh, yeah.
Just going from like Dallas to like Glen Rose or to Heiko, like it's completely, it feels like you're going different states. Like it's completely different. Like, yeah, so I can see, I mean, that's a lot of work that goes into it. And I know you talked about, the attorney stuff. Like, so how close was it to like an actual trial? Like, did Michael get it pretty spot on or?
I wondered, I never asked him, but I wondered if he had an attorney that he consulted with on the objections and the rulings from the judge. And it seemed in many respects to have that legitimacy there. Obviously, when you're doing an entertainment and production and you're condensing it just to present the essentials, you really do have to throw the accuracy out. And so there were things about the proceedings that probably wouldn't have fit with modern practice in a trial court. But again, this was some sort of purgatory, dreamland kind of setting anyway. So the real laws of procedure and civil trials, they just don't apply. I think he did a good job in bringing in what he needed to give it that flavor of contested judicial proceedings.
So obviously Pat Garrett was going against you, right? He was trying to defend his honor. How much did you work with, I think his last, was it Kelly who played Garrett? How much did you work with him to kind of get your guys' dynamic?
You know, we didn't. We just met on set and had fun when we were shouting at each other or trying to get at each other to fight. But there was no other preparation or rehearsal.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a couple of parts where like you or he would just get up and the attorneys were holding you guys back. Like, no, that was good. Where did you guys film the courtroom scenes at?
That was a real interesting set. That was the original courtroom, I think, for New Mexico territory, if not early New Mexican government. And it was a federal courtroom. And the federal government sold off the building years ago, and now it's in the hands of a charter school. But they maintained that courtroom in, for the most part, original condition. But Michael had to add some things to the set for the witness box and for the jury box. So it wasn't a complete original courtroom architecturally. It was just the original room in its shape and its the trim around the windows and the doors. But the rest of it, Michael had to build. But because it was the authentic federal courtroom, it was a really neat homage to the history of New Mexico using that facility.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Now, also, like, another important part is clothing and all that kind of stuff. Did you pick out what you were wearing, or did Michael, or was there other costume people on set, like, or input?
It had nothing to do with the wardrobe. Michael had a wardrobe mistress that he retained, and she got the clothing, and there was a fitting. She modified and altered it. But what she had done was she had taken one of the vintage photos of Brushy Bill Roberts from a press photo. I've got pictures of me in character, but I don't know if I ended up with the photo they were trying to duplicate. I'm on my computer and I'm looking right now. Well, Brushy Bill liked to wear neckerchiefs and scarves. This is a photo of him, but it's not the original that we based the wardrobe on. So I don't know if it'd be worth sharing that with you on screen. Let's see what else I can find here. Oh, there it is, right there, Brushy Bill number 2. Okay. Are you seeing it?
Mm-hmm.
So that photo there, that wardrobe, is what she duplicated pretty darn closely. We used, somebody showed up with a hat that was really good. I think it was Kelly Kidd's hat. But otherwise, she stitched up that shirt with the white trim, and then it was just a pair of blue denim jeans and then the cowboy boots.
Yeah, no, you looked, it was really good.
Yeah, maybe for the other viewers who may not have seen, these are all just photos of Brushy Bill. Where's my photos of me? Okay, so that's me on set with the courtroom doors behind me. So I'm not on set, I'm outside the set. The watch is obviously not historically appropriate. I hope that wasn't a movie.
Hey, even James Cameron had watches in Titanic, so.
I mean, true.
Yeah, I remember watching Happy Days back in the day, and Tom Bosley had one of those. It was very new at the time in the late 70s. The red LED watch with a gold metal wristband in a 1950s drama. I mean, not drama, the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
So happens to everyone.
Right.
Anyway, that's me on set.
Yeah, no, you did excellent. We really enjoyed your performance as Brushy, and it's one that, like I said, we've talked about for a while, so that's why I was like, oh, we should try to reach out and see if he'll come on and talk about it. And then when we were going through your IMDb, we also saw the Ghostbusters fan film that you did, Open for Business.
Yes.
And we had just filmed a 6 hour like deep dive into the original 84. So I was like, this is perfect. But do you want to, you can get back to Brushy in a bit, but do you want to talk a little bit about how that process worked as far as getting into the Ghostbusters film?
Okay, so that was the brainchild of Michael Bixby, who is a confirmed Ghostbusters fanatic, to the point where his personal car was the Ghostbuster mobile tricked out, including with the flashing lights and the wah-wah siren and all of the other things that he added to the outside of the car. And then he's got the jumpsuit and the backpack and everything. And he actually goes around and entertains children with it too. But he wrote a script and wanted to film a Ghostbusters fan film, feature length, which means it's over 45 minutes. And that was one of the first acting gigs I was cast in. I auditioned for it and was selected as to be Linus Tuttle, who is the proprietor of an old historic hotel that ends up getting haunted. And I suppose there could be some spoiler alerts if I kept talking about the plot, so I don't want to do that. I don't know, it sounds like you weren't able to find the movie itself.
No, we watched it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was filmed up in Cripple Creek at the St. Nicholas Bed and Breakfast Hotel, as to give it that vintage hotel kind of charm. And so there was, how many days of filming was that? I think it was 2 days for my roles in Cripple Creek, and then another day down in a dark and lurky alley in Colorado Springs downtown at night for a couple of the other scenes. And that was, I just love being on a film set. You can ask me for any project I've been in, was it fun? And I'd be like, oh my God, it's so fun to be on a film set. I love being on a film set. So yeah, that was a fun film to be in. And it was a fun plot, and also fun to help Michael bring his dream into reality. It took quite a few years. I think it was 5 or 6 years in post-production before he finally was able to publish that movie.
Yeah, no, and it came out really well when we were talking about it. We said it really harkens back to those old 80 ones, just the feel of it. And it was fun. There's a lot of good lines and laughs. And yeah, we when I pulled it up, because I didn't know it was filmed in Colorado, and it opened up with Colorado Springs and then the Hotel St. Nicholas. And I was like, oh man, me and Sam filmed a good episode up there. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like,
Right.
I think that another reason Michael was keen on the Hotel St. Nicholas was probably, as you are aware, there have been reports of paranormal activity in that property. And so we didn't experience any, at least I didn't, but gives it kind of a fun connection to the movie.
yeah, no, Cripple Creek is a fun little town. I know it's grown up. They built a giant casino recently, but when we were walking around, everyone was just so nice, and they're like, "Oh yeah, go check out this. Here's some of the history, the mining stuff." So, how did you get into character for Tuttle? Like, because obviously it's a different character than Brushy Bill. So, what was your mindset going there?
Well, that's Tuttle was almost right up some people call brand. Acting is a very subjective business. When casting directors make their first cut, when people apply for roles, it's with a picture. This is me. And so my brand is the kind of character that Linus Tuttle is. Kind of arrogant, articulate, professional, and that's sort of what Linus was. So it was in my wheelhouse already to just be kind of a hotel manager that had a big project that he's trying to get going and to save because of the trauma that was happening in the property. So I didn't really do much extra research other than certainly memorizing the lines and appreciating the context for the stress that he'd be under, both in renovating a historic property, which I've also done personally, and then trying to prevent the paranormal activity from ruining the property and the business.
No, we loved it. Oh man, I don't want to say too much because I know there's viewers that probably haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So guys, go check it out. Sam, do you have anything about the Ghostbusters film that won't give away too many spoilers?
It won't give away spoilers. I'm gonna have to think about that for a little bit.
Matt, what about you?
I liked it. I mean, it was, I think, a very well put together movie. I mean, we kind of talked about it. I mean, it kind of had that nostalgic feel to it. It was, it felt like it was part of the Ghostbusters movies, you know, it just had that nostalgicness to it. The sliming scenes were great, you know, it was good. I mean,
no, I think that you're all picking up on, you're saying it was so authentic. And I think that really comes from Michael Bixby's genuine passion for it. He is such a student of the Ghostbuster opera that he was able to bring it out not only in the script writing and in the composition of the scenes, but in how the vision was brought forth in directing and filming it. And he ended up getting really good crew to help him do that, with Alex Fall doing a lot of the director of photography, and Steve Austin helped a lot with direction too.
Yeah, and we appreciated there's the scene early on where there's the one spirit and you don't really see it, but you see the glow. And we just loved that because it just harkened back, like we said, to those films, and it was good. I know they did a premiere. Did you go to that one, or?
You know, I missed it. I was out of the state at that time, and I was really gutted because I wanted to be there to be part of it. It's always fun to be in a premiere too, but especially because in Colorado Springs there's an independent film group. It's like a super meetup of filmmakers for the Pikes Peak area and the Front Range of Colorado. And so this was big news to have a big film like this being produced and published out there like that. So very proud of Michael for having a nice, well-received premiere like he did.
Yeah, no, it seemed like that one went over well. The final trial went over well. So the projects you're picking are going over well. Like when you're picking a project, what do you look for specifically? Just a character you can attach to, or like how does that work?
You know, that's a really good question. I hate to come across as saying, well, I'll act anything. Just give me a role, cast me in anything. But again, I'm most comfortable in my brand, which I reviewed a little bit with you. And so there are certain roles that I will shy away from because it's just not gonna be genuine for me to do it. I'm not that accomplished of an actor to be able to change my spots that deeply, to go into just such a way out different kind of person. So I'll try and focus on those roles that suit me. Unfortunately, I'm an old white guy, and there aren't many roles out there they're seeking older white men, and the ones that are, there's a lot of other old white guys that are also applying for those roles. So it's catch as catch can, and I'm happy to catch whatever I can.
Well, another project you're listed on is Meow Wolf Denver. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
That was an amazing opportunity, and it was a really fun audition that had nothing to do with the Meow Wolf project. I think part of it was because Meow Wolf wanted to maintain confidentiality and secrecy. So many film projects, they make you sign a non-disclosure agreement if you move past the audition into a callback and other things. And so this audition had me reciting a Victorian poem with somebody else. And I've always taken the position when I have poetry or prose in front of me, I ignore the punctuation and the breaks. I make it into just plain dialogue. And so I recited that poem as if it was a conversation without emphasizing the rhyme, and I changed the punctuation, and it just comes across so much differently that way. I think that's what ended up allowing me to be cast by the producer. She complimented me on how I did that audition. And then I found out it's to be an alien television news anchor. Now, news anchor is in my brand, but I've never thought about being an alien television news anchor. So if you haven't seen me yet, I think it's still running at Meow Wolf Denver. It's a permanent installation, and I'm on the Jumbotron in the Avenue C, conjunction. Yeah, it's a weird theme about a conjunction of alien races that all of a sudden intersect, and there's a portal where everybody can cross over into each other's universes. And at this conjunction, this point of conjunction is where there's just all this Meow Wolf stuff happening. And so there's two Jumbotrons, and they're constantly streaming commercials and other content. And every once in a while, there's a news segment, and that's where I come on. And that was fun because of the alien stuff they had me doing and the topic that I was doing. And then I was supposed to be a little testy with the reporter who I was interviewing and doing some of the special effects with it. And that was a solid day of filming. And I had, of all places, to go to New Mexico to film it.
New Mexico's calling again.
Yeah.
Well, have you been to Meow Wolf since it's open to see it, like the finished project, or did you just watch it like in a studio somewhere?
No, I never got to see my content, and I was hoping I would get invited to a soft opening or a grand opening or whatever. Nope. So I had to go myself and pay my own admission, but I bought tickets to go in about a month after it opened. There was such demand, I just couldn't get tickets. And so I ended up going, and I went in there and I camped out. Well, I had to find where I was first, and it's a huge installation. And luckily there was a bench nearby. And so I camped out on that bench watching that Jumbotron to see my segments come on. And then somebody recognized me because they have actors working in Meow Wolf there also in character, and so I had to make a couple of autographs, and so there was a bit of fanfare. Oh, he's here, but that was kind of fun to see myself up there. And then boy, even a year and a half afterwards, I'd get an email from someone saying, oh my God, I just saw you at Meow Wolf. So it's fun to have that kind of repeat performance going on.
Right. Yeah, no, that's such a unique experience too. It's definitely very, very different. We've wanted to go to the Santa Fe one. We just haven't made it. Is that where you filmed it, was in Santa Fe, or was it somewhere else?
I think it was being filmed in Santa Fe. Yes. I was staying down in Albuquerque for that. And then they had a small, well, Meow Wolf actually had their own production studio that they must have rented a big warehouse office building, and then they cut it up into various things. And so we were in there doing the filming. It was a big space that they had converted into their soundstage. And then, of course, the set for at least for my component, my news anchor desk.
Oh, very cool. Well,
Yeah.
how was your trip to Albuquerque?
Oh, I've driven to Albuquerque quite a few times. And that one was in the spring. I was worried, could have been a blizzard or something. But no, it would all worked out just fine. Just a 5.5 hour drive from Colorado Springs. And can't remember if it was very windy. Often that stretch of highway in North New Mexico is very windy with a lot of crosswinds. But the trip down there was good, and the stay down there was good because it was in the springtime, and Albuquerque in the spring, and Santa Fe is a little cooler, but Albuquerque was already, things were starting to bloom. I think this was March, so they're a little bit earlier than Colorado Springs and Denver.
Yeah, we've only been once, so we'll have to go back sometime. Maybe in the spring, like you said, when it's not super hot out yet. Because usually we go to Roswell and Lincoln and that kind of stuff in June, July. But as far as like acting goes, what kind of got you into it? Like, what was that bug that said, you know what, I want to go try that?
Okay, so I had played a lot with acting when I was in high school, stage acting. And then life got in the way, and I went to college and got a degree, and then got a law degree, and then my career just went down those paths. But I always liked and enjoyed performing. As an attorney, you're kind of a performance artist anyway, especially if you're presenting in front of a jury, but even in front of judges too. There's a bit of puffing and stagecraft going on with that. And then I retired. But my last job before I retired saw me working for the Department of Corrections in Canyon City, and that was an hour and 15-minute commute each way. And so I started listening to audiobooks, and that really opened my eyes into the world of voice acting. And I thought, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And a few of the books I thought, I could have done better than that. So I thought, when I retired, I need to do something. Why don't I look into doing audiobooks and voice acting? So I started looking around for training and found a coach in Colorado Springs. And I asked him if he could give me some voice acting lessons. And he said that he had done voice acting in his career, but he said he was running a film and television acting workshop, and if I joined his film and television acting workshop, he'd give me voiceover work too. Work meaning coursework, training. And so I did, and oh my God, it was so much fun, and it was so much different from stage acting. Television and film is very intimate. And it's very small. I mean, just here with this camera, it's just me and you looking at each other, and it has that connection there. Whereas stage is very big and exaggerated, and you have to project your voice and communicate to the person in the back of the auditorium. And so it's a different art. And I really took to it, and I enjoyed it so much that I thought, well, I can do it all. I can do film work and voice work. And so that's what got me into going down the path of being a film and television actor.
No, very cool. And not to derail it, but where in Canyon City was it? The old prison?
Yes, I was in territorial prison.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some family history on that one. My great-great, I gotta remember this, great-great-grandfather was a prison guard there during the 1929 prison riot. His name was Myron Goodwin. He unfortunately passed away, but they have, if you go in the museum, they have a bunch of memorials to the officers, and there's a picture of him up on the wall.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's so cool.
It's a neat museum. Nobody thinks really that a prison could be someplace interesting, but yeah, there's a lot of history with that one because that prison predates statehood. That's why they call it territorial prison.
Well, then there's some interesting like inmates too.
Oh yeah, a lot of interesting inmates, and of course, also very interesting what those inmates got up to.
Yeah.
and the artifacts and things that they've had there. And then some of the old wardens and what those wardens got up to and what happened behind the walls there.
Yeah, corporal punishment. That is, they have the whipping station. I remember last time we toured it because we went up there to drop off the picture of my great grandfather, and they have it like set up in one of the things. But every time there's a mannequin in one of the cells, and I know it's there, but every time I like turn the corner and I jump because it's just like right there. Oh no, that's cool. I didn't know that. So that's a cool little connection we had. And so we've talked about 3 performances that you've done, but do you have another character or 2 that you really enjoy and that you think we should, maybe check out, go watch a video of?
You're not going to be able to find this one unless you go to a breast cancer fundraiser. But I was in a film that was part of the Denver University's kind of a master's program film project. It's called Scary Lucy. And it's just a bit part, but the plot is that in Lucille Ball's hometown, they commissioned a big bronze statue of Lucille Ball. And the artist chose to portray Lucille Ball when she was in, I don't know if you remember this particular episode where Lucille Ball was doing commercials on television. And back then, they would film a television show and broadcast it live, and then for a cutaway to a commercial, they'd move the camera and film an actor or actress live doing the commercial. And Lucille Ball was selling Vitamita Vegemin, which was in a brown bottle, and it was this nasty, vile medicine, and she would pour it and take a spoonful and grimace live on TV. But it was mostly alcohol. And so every time she would have to do this commercial, she'd be more and more drunk on live TV with Vegemita vitamin. So anyway, Lucille Ball it's such a classic comedic television show. I still laugh when I watch it. And I watched that show on YouTube to prepare for that role. So this sculptor did this statue of Lucille holding a bottle with a spoon and smiling, but it looked like it was out of a Tim Burton movie, and it was the scariest Lucille Ball statue that anybody had ever seen. And so this movie was to commemorate the unveiling of a statue of Lucille Ball in her hometown. And there were all these Lucille Ball impersonators who were coming to town to celebrate. And I was the hotel clerk checking in people. And I was dressed up as Lucille Ball in the candy factory. If you remember that episode where she and Ethel their job was to take chocolates, put them on a piece of paper, twist it shut, and on a conveyor belt. And if they kept speeding up the conveyor belt, and they were getting in trouble for missing them and unwrapped chocolates going past, so they started eating them and hiding them and putting them places. So I was dressed up like Lucille Ball with a chef's hat, and I had some chocolates in my head and on the hat. And we did so many takes for that scene that I ended up eating about a pound of chocolate truffles. I was a little, I tell you what, I couldn't eat chocolate for another 24 hours after that. But anyway, I was a snarky, sassy hotel clerk who had to do a Lucille Ball laugh. As I checked in someone and give them a hard time. So I really enjoyed that, and it was a fun movie, and they now give it, they show it for charity fundraisers for breast cancer or other cancer awareness. So I doubt you'll be able to find it, but it was a fun role.
No, it sounds like it. We'll have to try to see what we can do. We'll go to some fundraisers, see if we can see it. And no, do you have any upcoming projects that you're working on? I know you might not be able to say too much, but
Well, unfortunately, as I say to so many other people, when they ask what I do, I say I'm an actor, which means I'm unemployed. So I don't have anything in the hopper. I've been auditioning, still auditioning. In fact, right before this, I got a casting call for a commercial in Salt Lake City. Pays pretty good, so I'll look at that script and send off an audition for that. So no, unfortunately, I don't have anything in the hopper.
well, when you do, let us know, and we'll make sure to check it out. You do travel because you're outside of the U.S. right now. Like, how's that going, and what do you do when you go outside of the U.S.?
Well, I've got to the point in my life where even Colorado winters are unfun for me. I'm a lizard in search of a hot rock. So I traveled to Panama and have been enjoying the tropics in lovely Western Panama. And I'm doing my auditions from down here, which is the nice thing. You know, COVID changed this business. Some might say for the better, some might say for the worst. Back when I got into acting, casting directors wanted to see you live and in person when you did your auditions. And I committed when I lived in Colorado to going down to New Mexico, 5.5 hour drive to do an audition, and then drive 5.5 hours back a half an hour later and hope I got the gig. And then with COVID, it really opened up the business to filming yourself and sending your recording off to those casting directors. And casting directors all of a sudden realized that the world would not end if they didn't see you face to face for the audition. And so now hardly any casting directors want to see you in person. I was cast for Meow Wolf without being in person. And I think that that's now pretty much the way of the world, unless it's going to be a really big or a real important project like for national television or for a very high profile project or movie. So I'm able to now take my work with me wherever I travel, as long as I have good lighting and a good background. And I use my phone now. I didn't, when I first got into this, I got a fancy digital SLR camera and a tripod and a mic with a cable and a lavalier mic. Now it's just done with my iPhone. It's amazing how technology has changed the acting business.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember hearing about all the changes. Some actors would talk about it just because they were like, yeah, we used to do it this way. And now sometimes our scenes, it looks like we're all in the same room, but we're not even all together. You know, there's that Justice League movie they did with Zack Snyder at the end. And there's like 6 characters, and the only person there was one character and Zack Snyder. And then it was post-production adding them all in. So it's amazing what technology and, like you said, the pandemic, how it changed stuff so much.
Yes, yes. And I remember reading an interview of Ian McKellen, Gandalf.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a classically trained actor who most of his life he was playing off of his scene partners. And there was so much CGI and green screen work for the Lord of the Rings and Gandalf's role that he would reduce him to tears because he was acting by himself to nobody in a room of green without any inspiration. So it can also make it much more difficult because there is a synergy that you can get with your scene partners. And I've seen scenes change for the better, or at least in more creative ways when one actor does something different or changes it up, and that forces the other actor to change their delivery and an interpretation. And that's part of the fun of acting. And when it's film, you can take another take and do it again or do it differently.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of something we've talked about with like props and like, puppets. Like if you look at Jurassic Park, the original one, the actors were acting with something there, and now the new ones, they're just kind of looking somewhere. And so it does change kind of the expressions and timing and stuff like that. But you talked about doing takes. Like, have you ever had one where you've had to just do take after take after take, like where a director really wanted something?
At Meow Wolf, I was actually a little frustrated, disappointed in myself in the end, because I had rehearsed with the director. They brought in Aidan Canto, who's a Hollywood actor, to be the director for this segment. And we rehearsed with a Zoom call for about an hour, this whole script. And I thought it went great. And then on set, he dropped a bomb in my lap and told me to get really angry with the reporter I was interviewing for that segment. And I just hadn't gone there. And so it threw me for a loop. And that's one of the things I don't like to do, is be angry and nasty. And I hadn't prepared it. If I had prepared to be angry and nasty, I could have probably dredged up more than I was able to bring out. And so I think I disappointed Aidan, because we did about 3 takes on it, and it just wasn't meeting what he was wanting. And so he got what he got.
Oh, but it sounds like it turned out well. So you still did good, yeah.
Yeah, it still is a good thing to see. I enjoyed it, not only being in the acting, but also enjoyed watching it on the screen.
Yes, I have to go back and because when I went, it was super packed, and it was just so loud. Like, it was hard because there's so much going on. So now I'm gonna have to go back and look for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing you may that C conjunction place. I can't remember the name of it. Station C Station. It's overstimulating. It's so loud, it's so in your face, and it's so visually loud. Beyond your ears, it's just visually loud that it can be almost stressful and draining to be in there. And then you go to that second part of Meow Wolf, which is the forest. And that was the antidote, because it was quiet and calm and peaceful in there. It's still visually kind of stimulating, but completely different environment. And so it was a nice counterpoint to C Street, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, no, we'll go look, and we'll have to video it and send it once we go and find it. But before we get back to Brushy Bill, any spots in Colorado you think people should go check out?
Garden of the Gods really has a deserved reputation as being the top. I think it's the second or often the first most popular destination for tourists in Colorado. And so I strongly, strongly recommend you go to Garden of the Gods. Hanging Lake has been in such problems since the fire and everything up there. And now I can't remember if they've closed it or not. But the Glenwood Canyon and the cantilevered highway, that's beautiful use of an interstate highway in a narrow gorge. And if you can get reservations and go up to Hanging Lake, that is one spectacular spot. Takes a bit of energy because you have to hike uphill to get to that. So I recommend that. Pikes Peak, I have to get up there to see the new house, the new visitor center up on Pikes Peak, because that one opened up real recently. And if money's no object, what you probably want to do is ride the Cog Railroad up there to see the house on top. And then go do Cave of the Winds. Yeah, all of this is in Colorado Springs. There's so much to see and do in Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. That's a fun cave. So that's about all I can think of. Is that Bishop's Castle? The guy who's building a castle by hand south of Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. That's probably a funky thing to go see. And then if you're going to go far afield, Durango is spectacular. The Durango Silverton Railroad is wonderful. And there's now this thing, for those of you who are kind of athletic, you know the old push carts for railroads where you could hand power your way down the track? There's a company down there that's got an old unused section of railroad, and they've made bicycle carts that you can ride and go down a canyon of North Fork. That's where it is. And so I just saw that in the Colorado Springs Gazette today. So I think that would be a fun thing, completely different, and get you out where you're on an old railroad track. So there's not going to be a million tourists fighting with you to see whatever you're going to see. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, no, it sounds like something we got to go check out.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to Brushy, one last question. You kind of got into the character based off of the script and your research that you did. Do you think he was Billy the Kid?
You know, I did. I really did. I loved his story. I loved the details that he had in his story. And part of my research, pundits said that he had described things that only Billy could have and would have known, including details of the insides of buildings that no longer existed, but were documented. And I don't know that he would have actually gone to those lengths of doing architectural research about buildings to be able to describe them, even though they no longer existed. And so that is what persuaded me that he had pretty strong case for claiming that he was Billy the Kid. I do believe that Governor, oh shoot, I forget the name of the governor, Lew Wallace offered the pardon to Billy in exchange for his testimony. I don't think anything short of a pardon would have drawn Billy out of hiding to testify against the co-conspirators of the Lincoln County War, because they all swore a pact to keep secret. And Billy would only have testified if A, they'd have been convicted and thrown away in jail or hanged, and he would have been pardoned for that. And so I do believe that that was why Brushy Bill came out of the woodwork to claim that pardon. The law enforcement community objected to that because Billy, he did kill 2 sheriffs that were guarding him, but it was an unlawful arrest because he should never have been jailed after testifying. He should have gotten the pardon. Then if he'd have gotten the pardon, he wouldn't have killed Deputy Bell and that other deputy.
Hollinger.
So that's what I find so compelling about his whole story, was that if only the pardon had been granted, Billy probably would have been alive until he died a natural death. Well, maybe, maybe not. Maybe he was still stuck to his lawless ways. So yeah, I believe that there was a good colorable claim that Brushy Bill was indeed Billy the Kid.
See, while you were talking, I was thinking, because we do a series called Culz Deep Dives, and I don't know if you'd ever be up for it, but we watch a film and then we talk about it. And Young Guns 2 kind of talks about that. You've played Brushy. We're friends with Jorel Vosborg, who played Billy in Nat Geo's New Evidence. And I was like, that'd be cool if we could get both of you and just have you guys give like your ideas on the film, because you guys are both actors as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to do.
Yeah. Shout me up sometime and we can talk about it, and then I can try and watch it to prepare, because I haven't seen Young Guns.
For anyone that is watching or listening, where can they find more about your work? I know you got your website, and obviously IMDb lists your projects, but what else can they do to find out more about you?
Well, that's pretty much it. IMDb me, and then I have my website thomasfears.actor. Yeah, well, my talent agency is Stars Talent Studio in Utah and the Block Agency in Denver. So if you want to hire me, that's where you go for that. But for the most part, find samples of my work on my website and on IMDb.
Well, thank you again for joining us. This is one that we've been excited to do. We loved the final trial of Billy the Kid. Like I said earlier, we thought you did a really good job, and we saw it was Ghostbusters, and we were like, wow, this is perfect. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate having the opportunity. This was fun. And I encourage you, if you want to get more involved in front range film, look up the Peak Film Forum in Colorado Springs. And they might be able to turn you on to some other interesting avenues for exploration for your podcasts.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Thank you for recommending that.
Sure.
Once again, Sam, Matt, and myself would like to say thank you to Thomas for joining us. This was a super fun interview, and we are very appreciative of him taking the time out of his day to come talk to us about Brushy Bill, Ghostbusters, Meow Wolf, and much, much more. Make sure, if you guys haven't, go check out those films, as well as his website, to help support him. But until next time, guys, for more Culz interviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, what was your favorite part of the interview? And have you seen any of the films we've talked about? Tell us in the comments below.